Welcome to Outlook Money's interview series Wealth Wizards, where you'll find money maestros in conversation with me, Nidhi Sinha, editor Outlook Money. And today's guest has traveled a long way to be a part of this show, and that too physically. So please welcome Mr. Dante De Gori, CFP and CEO of Financial Planning Standards Board. We'll talk about how CFPs can help you ease your investment journey and also look at the regulatory and financial planning landscape, not just in India, but also globally. Welcome, Mr. Gori, to this show, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
How successful has FPSB been in disseminating the right advice in different countries? So, if you could just give us an idea in how many countries it is, and generally, what does it do?
Yes. Look, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity. And I think to give a bit of context for your audience as well, the Financial Planning Standards Board, as an organisation, its role is to distribute, if you like, the certification, the Certified Financial Planner designation, and the creation of a financial planning profession around the world. We are currently in 28 territories where we have the CFP certification operating. As of the end of last year, we had 230,648 CFP professionals across those 28 territories around the world. Just a little bit of a quick context. CFP certification has just ticked over 50 years globally. It's commenced in the United States. And it began with a class of 44 graduates in 1973.
I see.
Who were the first individuals to be certified. So in that 50-year period, we've gone from 44 individuals to 230,000 plus. And of course, India is one of our territories in which, for the first time, we've now ticked over 3,000 CFP professionals, over 3,200 here in India. For us, this is just the beginning. We are wanting to expand and grow the number of individuals who are professionally trained, in our case obtaining the CFP certification, so that they can provide more advice and education to as many people around the world as possible. And I think there's a great need and opportunity for, and in fact there's a demand, I would say. The demand at the moment globally is for personal finance support, whether guidance, advice, and information for all of us to be able to make decisions that impact us about our financial futures.
Right. So just to bring the Indian context a bit, we have a population of about 1.43 billion.
Yes.
And like you said, the CFPs, of course, have grown to a little more than 3,000 individuals. So there is a huge gap. I'm not saying the entire 1.43 billion needs advice right now, because there are different segments in India. But there is a growing, urban population, growing middle class, so to say, which needs financial advice. So this gap is somewhat glaring. And what can FPSB do about it?
Well, look, there are a couple of things that we can do. I mean, one, of course, in a rate that makes sense and is sustainable, the attraction and awareness of individuals to be trained professionally. The opportunity for employment is huge. I mean, my awareness and understanding is that there are more than 80,000 jobs currently available that require someone with a CFP certification to fulfill. And obviously there's a mismatch in demand and supply. So how quickly can existing financial advice professionals or people providing financial advice obtain their certification? I think that's the first thing. And again, that's something that we, and why I'm here as well at the moment, is to try and amplify that awareness. And to encourage people to obtain the certification. The second part, of course, is that in addition, as to your point, not everybody will obtain advice from a professional. Not everybody wants to obtain advice from a professional, but people want advice or want guidance and support. And so publications like yours, the use of media in general, social media, and volunteers to give back in terms of education and support is another way in which you can at least educate the population in terms of options and making them aware to enable them to at least have information to make more informed decisions about their personal finance. So, we're not advocating, and it is impossible, of course, that you're going to have a CF professional for everybody. But of course, we need to ensure that we can obtain a greater number of CFP professionals for choice. But again, CF professionals also, provide education through their own publications, newsletters, and of course, as I said, social media. So, how can we be more clever about utilising professionals to speak to a broader audience? And at the moment, as you probably would know, the gap is being filled by social media influencers who have no training, qualifications or experience.
Absolutely, and that's something that is, I see it as a dangerous trend also.
Yes.
Because, a lot of misinformation is also coming in the way. So there is need for trained professionals to enter the domain. In fact, with the India context, of course, the regulator here, the SEBI, they have something called SEBI registered investment advisors, a lot of whom are CFP professionals actually. So, in that sense, in the regulatory sense also, where do you think India's regulation lies in terms of, in comparison to, say, other countries where CFP is happening?
Look, again, I think every country is a little bit different in terms of the regulatory landscape. I mean, we have different, and also different stages of if I may say, maturity of the financial services marketplace, and the growth in that area. And look, I think like any other regulator, they are looking at what is priority in respect to their role in the marketplace. Regulators are there to, in fact, primarily protect investors and consumers in respect to their engagement with financial service providers. And of course, they can do, many of them do play a role in consumer information, dissemination of information, because it's a trusted source. And again, I think, and where I have seen it worked really well in other territories, is the partnership between regulators and industry bodies such as the Financial Planning Standards Board, where you can work together to disseminate information from a trusted source. As an example, in many territories, CFP professionals and the broader financial planning community offer pro bono services to do education forums, or even provide perhaps free financial advice services as well to try and reach a broader audience. So campaigns, there are global campaigns that are running.
And this is along with regulation, you would say?
Absolutely. So, as an example, the International Organization of Security Commissions, which SEBI is a member of, hosts annually World Investor Week. World Investor Week is a global campaign to connect regulators, industry participants at an international level, but an international campaign at a local level to connect with consumers and investors. And within that World Investor Week, actually on the middle of that week, on the Wednesday, is a dedicated day called World Financial Planning Day. And as I said, in many of our territories, CF professionals give up and volunteer their time to speak directly, engage directly with investors and the public about personal finance and supporting them in terms of financial information and the role and value of financial planning. That is done in partnership with regulators, the international regulatory body, all the regulators and industry bodies together to with a goal, a combined purpose, if you like.
So would you say that the Indian regulator also needs to take a larger role in that sense?
I think all regulators do in that respect. I mean, as I said, part of their role has to be about ensuring consumer trust and confidence in the financial services marketplace. And part of that is educating or creating awareness about who people should be seeking or sourcing their financial information from. So as an example, they should be actively informing people that, you shouldn't be accepting advice from someone on social media. You should be validating that information or seeking the services of a professional before making decisions. Things like that. Where are some of the trusted sources of information? Because financial information is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
but what can you trust, or where are some of the trusted sources that consumers can rely upon in terms of the information content that is there. Regulators around the world actively get involved in at least helping direct the public to trusted sources. And, this is something that SEBI and other regulators absolutely can and should be doing.
So one more question that I had related to this was that, you talked about finfluencers. There's a lot of misadvice, if I can call that, on social media platforms, etc. CFPs, of course, are professionals and they have a fiduciary duty. But is there a way where, one can choose a CFP who's really, even within these professionals who are certified and trusted, through the organization, how do you kind of find the right CFP in terms of intent and advice?
Yeah, look, that's always an interesting question. I mean, like with everything in life, if you're going to work with a professional service provider, whether it's an accountant, a lawyer, and a financial planner, I mean, you need to have someone that you can trust and have confidence with. So, the first benchmark is that they are a certified individual, someone who actually has the qualification. So that at least narrows the pool down. And then it's a question of finding someone that is going to be a good fit for you. And that's always, is always an interesting exercise. Sometimes you have to maybe interview one or two individuals to maybe find the one that's a right fit for you, and also that you're a right fit for them and their business. And look, the number one source of finding perhaps the right financial planner or certified financial planner for you normally is word of mouth. Friend, family, someone who has already utilising the services. If they're happy with what this individual is providing, then often you will trust that friend or family member in terms of that referral and recommendation. So, again, it's one of those things that it's a worldwide question. How do you find the right one for me? But again, just to turning it around, every business, financial planning practice or business may not necessarily. Most of them will have a niche market of clientele as well. So it's again. The transparency and communication of the type of clients that they serve also can be helped. So communication, having a resource where you can go to find a certified financial planner, and if that certified financial planner is willing and able to share about the types of services, clientele that they look after, the fees that they charge, etc., all those things are very helpful in trying to find the right fit.
Right, but that also poses a challenge to the new professionals who have just entered, maybe just got the CFP certification. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, I mean, like any new professional that enters a marketplace, they have to announce themselves. And they're
struggle for a while.
Well, I mean, again, they've got to build up their own reputation and experience. Some will partner with experienced financial planners or CFP professionals or work in well-established practices and businesses before perhaps going out on their own. So there are many ways you could do it. And of course, you have firms and institutions and the banks, etc., where many will obtain their foothold in terms of their experience, but also building up clientele and also understanding perhaps what type of advice areas that they really want to work in as well. So there are many ways they could do it. But I'll tell you what, the young generation have that the experienced individuals don't have is the connection to technology and social media already. Many might already have a presence on social media themselves. One of the things I think is really exciting is how can we convert qualified professional individuals like CFP professionals into social media influencers. Why does it have to be the domain of the unqualified? It shouldn't be, right? And but again, there's a stigma or there's an uncertainty because people have not been used to communicating on social media about professional matters like financial planning.
So will it help if you kind of maybe introduce a segment of that in the certification program in terms of training?
Look, we're always open to look at different ways in which we can better skill and support the training and efforts. I mean, I don't know how much I mean, obviously the role of social media, especially in respect to marketing, communication, and connection, is really important. And again, I think there's a limitation to social media in that you are not acting on a one-on-one basis. You're acting to one-to-many.
True.
So for me, the training there isn't about how do you deliver personal financial advice on social media. For me, it's about how to utilize social media as a channel, an additional channel, to share financial education and information that's coming from a trusted source from someone who's a qualified professional. So to that extent, how to better utilize different channels to share and educate the public. Yes, I think there's opportunities to, but it can't be the only channel, right?
Of course.
Talking to yourself and working with media is really important. Working with your local communities and even engaging with other professionals, accountants, lawyers, to maybe team up and provide education and support in your local community is really important. So there are many ways in which I think financial planners and CFP professionals should be looking to engage with the general public.
Okay, so talking about the general public in India, the investing culture, so to say, has increased. But I don't know how much seriously people are taking, the importance of taking financial advice from a professional. So do you see a difference between, say, the US and India in terms of how is financial advice taken in US, for example?
Do you mean in how it's consumed,
How
how the general public
responds to
it?
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, it's in many. You have to look at the world in a few different categories for me. And I mean, as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, I mean, the US is the birthplace of financial planning and the CFP certification. So they've had 50 plus years to cultivate and educate the American marketplace. There is a lot of choices in the US, and there is a very strong and mature financial services market. So the consumers are a lot more aware of financial planning. I mean, just to give you an example, we mentioned there are 3,200 CFP professionals here in India. The US ticked over 100,000.
Okay.
And that's CFP professionals, but the marketplace of financial advice professionals is obviously much bigger than that, right? But within that marketplace, there are 100,000 certified financial planners. So there is more choice and options for the American public in that respect.
And that has made a difference.
Of course it's made a difference. Yeah, absolutely it has. And it's built up over, as I said, a long period of time. So time is key here as well. I mean, I think we like to always rush to the end. but the reality is we have to, in a market like India, but not just India, there are, as I said, this is in many markets around the world, it has to evolve. And it has to evolve in a sustainable way. Now, of course, you have to manage the trends and issues of the time, like social media and crypto assets and other things that are impacting financial decisions. But the reality is the market here in India will grow and will grow at a fast rate. And the population in India will have choices, will obtain those choices over a period of time. It's just going to take time. So the final point that I'll say is that awareness in countries like Australia and the US and the UK, Canada, etc., is much greater.
Okay.
But that's come through time and repetition. You have to repeat yourself. You have to continue to talk about financial services, financial planning, personal finance. You have to keep talking about it. So it becomes, and now the word escapes me, but it doesn't become a taboo topic. It's not something where people are like, oh, I don't know what that means. It becomes normalized in the community, and for me that's a threshold, I suppose, that still needs to happen in a market like here in India.
Talking about the US, there are many CFPs who must be much older because they entered the market much earlier, since the market is more mature in US. Is there any way where this training happens to kind of update them on these new behaviors and trends among Gen Z, because that is also a large section in Indian population which
Yes.
is really attracted to the stock markets
Yes.
and cryptos, like you said.
Yes. Well, look, I mean, what I will say is India is in a fantastic position because it has a young population. I mean, it is without doubt going to be a major factor and contributor to India becoming, one of the major powerhouses economically around the world. And that's going to create opportunity for both professionals and the public. And in fact, many of these Gen Zs would love to see them take their talents into becoming certified as well, because they can make a big difference. To answer your question in terms of that sort of exposure and training, I think, or awareness about how this is everywhere I go. I mean, the one topic in every conference is how do we engage with the young
Gen Z,
generation,
yeah.
right? How do we, both from clientele, like how do you engage them as a potential client? How do they want to consume advice? Is going to be very different to a 60-year-old, for example. The data that we have and the data that I've seen in terms of what the younger generation are looking for, it's very interesting. They definitely are more comfortable in engaging with a professional. They do want to still engage with professionals, but they want to engage in a digital way.
All right.
In saying that, it is very clear in many of the studies that they want a personalised service. So they don't want the same service that someone else is getting. I mean, they want to be treated as an individual. So this is the power that I think the role of the profession has in play, is that no matter what technology comes in, or what platforms are used to engage, people want a personalised service. They want advice about me that's related to my situation and my goals and my needs. So you still need to be able to deliver that. They just want that delivered in a different way. And so, engaging in having digital platforms, obviously the emergence of AI is going to help support that in terms of that engagement, access to information. Again, I think younger consumers are time poor, or feel like they don't want to waste time on things they don't value. They want access to information, right? They're happy to. They want to know. So they're going to be more financially literate and educated, but they also want someone to take care of things. They don't. I want to do what makes me happy, and sorting out my finances is one of those things that I want someone else to do. But I want them to do it in a way that I can check online. There's a platform. So again, the consumption of advice is changing, and many of the professional development or continuing professional education programs that all CFP professionals undertake, all of them have elements of how do you engage with new clients, how do you engage with the younger generation, how is technology going to help you do that? Do you want to engage with the younger generation? Again, there are many practices or financial planning businesses that only specialise in pre-retirees or retirees. And in fact, I met an organisation today, for example, here in India, that their clientele is the military. So again, not that there aren't young people in the military, but I mean, again, it's a niche, it's a different. So every depending on your practice, your business, you need to undertake the knowledge and training that best suits how you're going to engage with your clientele. But there's no doubt that that's evolving and changing for Gen Zs, and how that's going to how financial planners are going to engage with them.
Another question that I wanted to ask you was on crypto, which you've been mentioning. Now in India and in general, advisors see it as a risky asset. But in the US, the government doesn't look exactly averse to it. So what is your take on crypto investments and assets?
Can I say, irrespective of different governments, because again, at the International Organization of Security Commissions where we sit, over the last 3 or 4 years, obviously more than that, crypto's been a big topic, for a long time. It's an unregulated product. so much unknown about what it is and how it's valued and all those things. Irrespective of different governments. So in South Africa, for example, the government decided to make crypto assets a financial product. So it's a regulated financial product. So if you are going to be licensed by in South Africa, you need to obtain training to obtain a license to give it. But you can give advice on crypto assets because it's a regulated financial product.
Okay.
In most other countries, it's not. I believe that's the case here in India. It's not a financial or a recognised financial product or a regulated financial product.
Yeah.
I can tell you that irrespective of the government, every CFP professional I've spoken to has generally a disliking to crypto assets.
Yeah,
so
that's what I also
so
experienced.
your point, whether it's the US or India or in Europe, many safe professionals, I will say, are wanting to learn and understand about crypto assets, but they don't themselves. Many of them, I should say, because I don't want to say that all of them, because there are some that do, but many of them would probably prefer not to recommend crypto assets.
Even in the US.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a mixture there as well. I mean, so forget about what governments are doing. I think as a profession, many of them are skeptical and concerned about what the long-term, future is going to be. But in saying that, of course, it's an open market and consumers drive a lot of the direction in terms of what professionals have to respond to. And so it was very clear. I remember we did a survey, or a survey was done a number of years ago, where only 2 or 3 years ago, where the biggest question, or the number one question from clients, existing clients and new clients, was crypto assets. Can you advise me on it? I want to buy them. How much? Should I buy them? Can you help me? Et cetera, et cetera. And most CFP professionals at the time, and even now, I mean, again, they're caught in two spaces. I mean, one, employers, regulators were not permitting them to make recommendations on it. So again, that becomes an issue in terms of your professional capacity. But of course, consumers are asking about it. So really, where we've sort of landed is that it's really up to individuals. About their comfort. Again, one of the principles of being a certified financial planner is that you provide advice on areas in which you're competent. Okay, so you either have the competency because of training and experience on this matter, or you don't. And so, of course, there are so many now opportunities to train yourself and become more learned in the areas of crypto assets. But they're doing that to be able to have a conversation. So I can tell you, with any alternative assets, generally speaking, and where things like crypto come up, where they're sort of becoming a trend or it's a fear of missing out exposure, most CFP professionals will engage with their clients, at least talk about them and explain, perhaps if you are going to do this, I can't recommend which crypto you're going to enter into, but if you are going to do it, restrict your exposure to 5% of your portfolio. I mean, if something goes wrong, you're okay. Whereas without that professional advice, people are going 100% in. Right?
All right, fair enough.
Or exposing themselves more significantly. But this principle is applied, or should be applied, across not just crypto assets, many alternate or sort of not common financial instruments or products. Like, I mean, there was a period of time in some parts where artwork was, people wanted to invest in artwork. Again, financial planners aren't technically trained on artwork, but again, if you look at diversification and portfolio construction in terms of person's assets, again, a financial planner can help and say, look, the guidance I give you here is in terms of you want to protect the majority of your wealth, but you obviously have a passion or an interest in this particular type of investment. Here's a way in which you can do it, so that you're not risking everything, or you're managing your exposure. And again, some people may be very experienced in a particular, there would be people who feel they're highly qualified in crypto assets. Well, they may be willing to take more of a risk in terms of that exposure or not. But so again, this is why, I think going back to your earlier question, sometimes finding the right CFP professional for you, can make a difference, because that person may be more educated and trained in particular asset classes that you are interested in.
So that is something that our viewers also should, keep in mind. What Mr. Gori is saying, that restrict your basically exposure to crypto assets or other risky assets. So that was something that I wanted to address, because Gen Z in India is still crazy about cryptos.
Yes.
But coming to the end of this conversations, and this basically segment is very tightly focused on consumers. What are the 5 things that you would advise our viewers and consumers in India in terms of what they should expect from CFPs in terms of solutions, so that they really can find the right fit for themselves?
Yeah, look, my advice to any consumer who is looking to take control of their personal finances, make investments, and again, I want to also be clear, a safe professional is not there just to help you with your investments. I mean, one of the key key pillars of CFP certification in the program is holistic financial planning. And the idea of finding a safe professional that can help you is obviously looking to solve for personal finance matters. You looking to even from preparing a budget and helping you with cash flow management, right? Helping you decide on where to invest or better utilize disposable income. I mean, again, some of it may not be investments, some of it may be paying down debt. Mm-hmm. Again, financial planners and CFP professionals look at your complete life and look at how. The question isn't how do I make a return on this investment or which product I should purchase. The question is, what's my end game? So am I looking to purchase a home? Am I looking to send my kids to school? Am I looking to fund my own education? Am I looking to travel and travel the world, and I want to be able to fund? All these things require a way to fund, a way to save, and the goal of the CFP professional is to achieve that outcome, not to achieve a rate of return on a particular, whether asset class at a particular time. And so going in there with an open mind and looking about what are your goals and aspirations, what is that you want to achieve, and they will then help you identify ways to achieve it and give you options around that. Some of that may relate to, investment in particular financial products, but some of it may be about, as I said, paying down debt, looking at how to protect your assets that you currently have, insurance, looking at estate planning, again, depending on what stage you are in life. But I mean, all these areas will come into play, and they need to look at your complete circumstances and help you put together a plan and to try and achieve that. So finding someone you're comfortable with, that you're prepared to share information with, that you may not even share with your partner, to be honest, because again, you can only they can only help you if they understand your circumstances and information, and that's not just how much money you have in the bank. It's more broader than that, and so. A safe professional is someone that can help you navigate through all of those components. So finding someone that you can trust is really important. Ask questions. I mean, I would suggest, like anything, you're interviewing your CFP professional as much as they are going to be interviewing you about whether you're a right fit. And you need to be comfortable with their approach. And a couple of the key themes that come back from most consumers is that, like, how does the process work?
Yeah.
Ask them, what is your process? How do you engage with me? How do you, what's the process of sort of me telling you what I need or want? How do you charge? Like, what's the, what's the cost going to be to me? And what are the services that you provide once you provide me with advice? Because again, one of the areas, again, that I think is a failing in respect to financial literacy and education, and even us as a profession, is that giving someone a financial plan in itself is a very good outcome. Great that someone has a financial plan, but the execution and implementation of that plan is more important. Mm-hmm. And again, you're picking a certified financial planner to not only help you with the recommendations, but to help you fulfill them. And so it is a partnership. It's not a one-off. And that's what they're trained to do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gore, and that point of how it works together, how they can come together, the consumer and the advisor, is really a takeaway for our viewers and investors in general. And that really makes an important point of why financial advice, the right financial advice and professional financial advice is important. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.